Creatives, how are you? Welcome back to the Nerd Creative channel, Fireside Chat, Paint by Numbers 2, Part 5. Grab yourself a coffee, sit back, relax and enjoy. So we're going back to this black colour here. There we go. There is a lot of black on this canvas to be painted. So we're going to continue. So I'm going to start up here. It's quite a big area here. I had to reposition the camera because my head kept bobbing into shot and covering up what I was painting. For you guys anyway, I could see everything but my head and my hat was in the way, so I had to kind of reposition. It's not fully where I want it to be, but it's not far off. I had to kind of bring it down, bring it up, bring it down. Oh, it's a nightmare. But yeah, this is where it is now. Yeah, there we go. Thing keeps bouncing. Oh dear, I have to sort that out. Yeah, the camera keeps bouncing when I move the desk, when I move my hand on the desk. Let me see if I can just clip in a bit. To kind of secure it. Oh, looking good. Let's see if I can get a little bit closer. I've added water into this black and it's given it a new life, a new lease of life. I actually changed brushes to a thicker brush just to get the bulk of it. The brush was hidden under the board. And with the bigger brush you can see how much this part is black. see how much of a bigger area it is. Just get in here. Just colour blocking now, just getting the big areas under control. And there's another one just beside it, right here. Another big 11. There. Just going to rinse the brush. And I'm going to spin the canvas. Grab your coffees, guys. I'm not actually drinking coffee, I'm drinking juice. Then we can get from this angle here. This paint is so good now. So good. I can do my edgings, and I can do any fine line work. Really good. That's my advice to you. If your paint gets too thick, it doesn't matter if it's a little bit thick, but if it gets too thick, just add a little bit of water to it and mix it up. Not too much water, as it will become quite a transparent colour. Just enough to kind of just loosen all the paint up so that you're getting the colour you want and the consistency you want as well. This is painting on really well. As you can see, oh dear. I don't know if that was on camera, but I just spilled some of my juice on the canvas. Which is something I would never do. You know that. Some parts right at the bottom now. I don't know if they're going to be in camera. Just put my fingers there. No. See if I can move the canvas up slightly. Let me just move these. They're just here. I think they're just on camera. They're right at the bottom of the canvas, which is right at the top of the canvas. When I flip it, I'll spin it. Stand up slightly. It's quite difficult to paint because my hand's up on the edge of the canvas. No, I'm not going to be able to do that. It's too far on the edge. I haven't got anywhere to rest my hand. So, like I said, there's a lot of black on this canvas. So we'll go here. I don't know why that's bouncing. It's not good. It's very bouncy. I'll stand up for this part. This goes all the way right around to here. Wow. There's another 11 here. I keep sticking my fingers into the pen. That's not good. Do this one. And then I'll do this one. And then maybe this one. Watching something on YouTube. It was like a Zoom video, and the guy brought on, it's about Back to the Future, and he had Christopher Lloyd on there, Michael J. Fox, Leah Thompson, both the Bobs, Bob Gale and Bob Zemeckis was there, Huey Lewis, Christopher, I think it's called Chris Sylvester, who scored the Back to the Future theme, and then he had J.J. Abrams as well. Another super fan of the film. It's really good to watch. Elizabeth Shue was there as well, because she played Jennifer Parker, I think it's Parker, from the end of Back to the Future. Well, the new end to Back to the Future 1 in Back to the Future 2, because Claudia Wells wasn't available. I think she had a family crisis or something, so she wasn't in Back to the Future 3. 2 and 3, should I say. So they had to reshoot the end of Back to the Future. So it's just good to see them all together. You know, who knew, like, was it 36 years ago, or, let's see, 95, 2005, 2015. 38 years ago. No, hang on, 38 years ago. Who knew that Back to the Future would still be everybody's favourite movie? It's been described as the perfect movie, which I agree with. It is perfect in every way. And Back to the Future 2 and 3 didn't actually take away from the perfectness of the film. You know, like some sequels are just like, ugh, you just ruined the first one. I like all three for different reasons. I mean, obviously my favourite DeLorean is from Back to the Future 2, the flying DeLorean. It's so amazing. And I'm actually building the Back to the Future DeLorean on my channel. I've just started releasing videos. I'm building it because you can build it as the version from Back to the Future 1 or Back to the Future 2 with the Mr. Fusion and the flying version, or you can build it from Back to the Future 3 when they went back to the Old West. I'm building mine for Back to the Future 2. I like the Mr. Fusion, but I like the flying option of it. I did actually see Hot Toys are releasing, I think it's a 1/6 scale from Back to the Future 2, the flying DeLorean. Seriously, it's so expensive. I would love it. It's got lights up and it's tilted on its side as if it's flying. I'll put a picture up of it. Oh, it's awesome. One day I will get one of them. They already have, I'm going to change brushes. They already have the time machine from Back to the Future. That's available as well. But the from Back to the Future 2, that's going to be released sometime this month, November 23. In case you're watching in December or next year, they're releasing the DeLorean from Back to the Future 2. Lights up and stuff, and it's almost the same size as the one I'm building, but I'd like to have that as well, just to look at, just to say, yeah, this is the one I'm building, because it's going to take a long time for me to build this one, the fan home I'll put that on screen as well. Fan home, build the DeLorean. Back to the Future DeLorean. And you can see how I'm getting on with the build. I'll just continue with this in here. Do some more colour blocking. But they're very expensive. I would love them. I'd show them on my channel and display it with pride. Both of them, the one from Back to the Future 1, the 1/6 scale. I think the one I'm building is 1/8 scale, so I think it's slightly smaller. This thing's quite big. It looks amazing. I was looking at it and I was like, oh yeah. I do like that. And then I looked at the price, and I was like, I do like it, but not quite yet. It does look amazing, and it's the Hot Toys one. And sorry, I didn't mention that, it's Hot Toys one, and you can get the Hot Toys Marty McFly, Doc Brown on various characters and things. I have a Doc Brown. I think it's a NECA one. It's a NECA Doc Brown. I'm going to get the Marty as well, but so all the Hot Toys ones, and I was like, oh, I can show you my NECA Doc Brown. Sits behind me at the desk. There's my NECA Doc Brown. That looks really good. But the Hot Toys one is even more detailed. They have clothing on them, like Marty McFly is in proper denim jeans. I mean, it's amazing. Doc Brown's in a proper white suit. It's not molded plastic. It's proper. I'll put them on screen. You can see them. But yeah, but the NECA, I love the NECA ones as well. They're really, really good. You can get Doc Brown from the future, Doc Brown from 1955. You know, it's all there. Get Marty from the future, Marty from 55, Marty from 85. You can get Biff. You can get future Biff, 1955 Biff. They're really good. I'm going to get the NECA ones. The next NECA one I'm going to get is Marty McFly from 1985, before I start the 2015 ones from Back to the Future 2. So yeah, I'm going to get all the NECA ones because they're really well done. The accessories are great. They come in a really, really good box as well. Get down here. It's quite thin. Yeah, I'll get all the NECA ones first before I can invest in the Hot Toys ones, which are awesome. They don't call them Hot Toys for nothing. I don't have enough NECA Back to the Future stuff to do a video on them, because like I say, I've only got one figure. And when I get the Marty, I'll show it on camera. but that video was really, the surprise guests in that YouTube Zoom video, oh, it was amazing. I did not think they'd get both the Bobs, Bob Gale and Bob Zemeckis in. That is just genius. This was from, I think it was from 2020. It was during lockdown. Everywhere. I can't say just America. It was during lockdown everywhere. It's about 20. Yeah, it's sometime in 2020, because Leah Thomas says that Marty and Doc should go back to January. So I'm thinking she's referring to January 2020, at the start of the pandemic, and try and stop it. It's kind of funny. I can't get my hand in there. Still wet. Right, I'm going to spin it and get this bit done. And you can see how much black is going on. It's really making it stand out. Yeah, in that YouTube Back to the Future Zoom video, they read some lines as well. They answered questions. It's just really good. Right at the end, this was funny. Right at the end, they had Claudia Wells, who plays Jennifer, was on there, and she says, hello, can anybody see me? She goes, oh, this is the third Zoom I've missed. It's really funny. She says, I really wanted to speak to Elizabeth Shue, because Elizabeth Shue kind of took over her role as Jennifer Parker. I think it's Jennifer Parker. If it's not, I'll put on screen what her character name is. I think it's Jennifer Parker. It was just so good to watch. I've seen quite a lot of YouTube stuff about Back to the Future and interviews and things, but I've not seen this before. And they were all there. I mean, Michael J. Fox was there. I know he doesn't do a lot of personal stuff now, a lot of personal appearances and things, because he thinks that he doesn't want people to see him how he is now, but people just love him. They don't care that he's got Parkinson's, they just love him. Oh yeah, Mary Steenburgen was there as well. Forgot about that, yeah. And I think the genius in Back to the Future 3 is it was about Back to the Future 1 was Marty saving his life, his parents. Back to the Future 2 was saving everybody, I think. And Back to the Future 3 was Marty saving Doc. And then Doc had a love interest in there as well. I mean, this is not a spoiler. Everybody's seen Back to the Future, pretty much. Back to the Future trilogy. And Doc had a love interest in there, which was Mary Steenburgen. And she was there, and she was talking about how much she loved filming, and she loves westerns as well, so it was kind of right up her street. Clara Clayton. You actually forget that the guy who plays Strickland is in Back to the Future 2 and 3. He plays Strickland in Back to the Future 2 in the alternate Back to the Future 1985, where the school's burnt down, although they don't show it burnt down, but in the deleted scenes that you can watch, you can see Marty standing outside the burnt out school. And Strickland had a shotgun, and he was like, "Keep left, slackers." But he's also he's like a sheriff or something in 1885. So it's good to see. No McFly in the history of Hill Valley has ever accomplished anything. And Marty goes, history's going to change. And it does. George McFly becomes a successful author in 1985. I may have got that quote slightly wrong, but it's near as I can remember it. It's funny that Huey Lewis was in Back to the Future 1, playing the high school teacher, when Marty was riffing out to The Power of Love. He's there with a megaphone and he goes, "Sorry guys, you're just too damn loud." And it was his song. It's just so good, you know, the references that they have. It's just so good. I mean, they knew they had a good film, but there were still a lot of nerves about, you know, would people think it was a good film? And it became the biggest film upon its release everywhere around the world, which is staggering. I think it was the first time it was that kind of water cooler moment where everybody was talking about one film. I mean, we've had other occasions when this has happened after Back to the Future, like when Lost came out, everyone was talking about that. Game of Thrones, CSI. You know, there's been a lot of moments. Heroes, remember there was a big thing about Heroes when Heroes first came out. I can hear my brush scratching on the canvas. It's quite funny. I don't know if it's being picked up on the camera, but I could have changed to a bigger brush for this part, but I'm not. I'm just going to fill it with the little brush. See, there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of black areas on here. So it kind of mutes the bright colours that I've painted. You know, when I've got enough of the darker colours on here, you'll see that it's not a very bright and colourful artwork. I'm got another storm here in the UK. I think it's Storm Kira. And it's bringing us storm and wind and rain, and oh, it's just miserable. But it is that time of year. Temperatures really low. Well, it's not freezing, but it's like 10 degrees with lots of rain. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of coverage here in this video. And I'm glad that the Bobs have both agreed that there'll never be a Back to the Future 4. There'll never be a remake. Because in my opinion, there doesn't need to be. Everything's being remade at the moment. Some of them are good because they didn't have the technology back then to make the dream come true. But a lot of remakes, they're not necessary. They're not necessary. When the original is that good, you don't need a remake. It's like Back to the Future never needs a remake. See, the only remake we're getting it is Back to the Future the musical. As one of the Bobs said in the video, he said it's like a companion to the films, which it is. I spoke about this before in my other videos, that it doesn't copy the original, but it doesn't stray too far apart from the original Back to the Future. It seems to have struck the right balance between making something new and sticking to the original story, which is just really good. And I went to see it, and I love it. I'd love to go and see it again. Of course I would. I'd love to go and see it again. And for those who haven't seen it and love Back to the Future, you know what I mean? It's there. It's there. Go watch it. That actually goes on down in here, but I can't get my hand in because this pen is still wet. So we'll move on to another section that is black. And because there are so many sections that are black, so we're going to move here. Like I said, once I've done all the blacks, you'll see how many blacks there are in this piece. It's just awesome. I love it. I love this one. Just spirals all over the place if there's this colour. I think I'm going to have to break out the Back to the Future films and give them another watch, because I'm so in the mood for it. What I tend to do is I tend to watch Back to the Future 1 and 2, and then I don't watch 3, and I'm like, well, but I really do like 3, but you know. I think I'm going to have to do the whole trilogy again. It's nice to rest them and not watch them for a bit and then break them out again. That's really good. Wait until you really, 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 really want to watch them again, enough so that you want to watch all three. Because once I've seen Back to the Future 1, I want to watch, because of the end of Back to the Future 1, I want to watch Back to the Future 2 straight away. And then the same with Back to the Future 3. The way they've done them, the cliffhangers, amazing cliffhangers, where you're just like, no, I need to watch it. See, I need to watch it to the end now. I need to see how it ends. Although we know how it ends, but it's just so good. The time train, I love the time train. I wish they would make a Hot Toys or a NECA or something. Some company would make the time train with lights and everything. That would be amazing. I don't know if there'd be a lot of call for it though, because it's like a business decision. If obviously the DeLoreans are the star of the show, other than the actual stars, Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, but the car is the star of the show. The souped up DeLorean is the star of the film. In all three films, in its many different guises. I think I've seen Back to the Future 1 and 2 the most. I haven't watched a lot of times Back to the Future 3. It's still quite an unknown quantity to me, that I don't fully know what's coming next. And Back to the Future 2 just jumps around a lot. It's just so good. There are ways to do time travel in films. Back to the Future is one of the films that has done it right. Predestination is another one. Don't know if you've seen that one, but Predestination is good. Looper as well. Looper's a good one. There are some films that have done not Back to the Future. There's some films that have done time travel really well. But it's kind of, you can get yourself stuck if you don't plot it out properly. You can get yourself really stuck doing a time travel film. Or even writing a time travel book. You can get stuck if you don't plot it out properly. Because you're dealing with things that have happened, things that will happen, things that you're doing now. It can get quite messy. And I think the secret is to simplify your story, so you're not going into the paradox and causality and all that sort of stuff. And Back to the Future kind of stuck to a simple story. But you can get as complicated as you like, as long as you don't lose it. I'd say there've been countless time travel films and stuff where they don't make sense. I mean, time travel's always been a sci-fi trope. Star Trek's used it a lot. Next Generation's used it a lot. The original series even used it. Deep Space Nine, Voyager, they've all used it, but they don't use it that much because it is very tricky. If you're talking about future stuff, that's the harder part. You can't really say too much about future stuff, because when future shows come out in Star Trek or whatever, you've got to keep in mind what you've already said that's going to happen, and it can melt the head somewhat. There's one in here if I can get to it. Time travel can be a head melter. I know Predestination is quite a head melter. I need to give that a go as well, because I can kind of remember what happens, but I don't remember everything that happens. Time Cop's another one that I like. A lot of directors and writers and stuff kind of steer away from time travel because it very rarely works. As I say, the simpler stories are the best. There's a lot of colour blocking going on in this video. Blocks of colours. Some are joining up and some are satellite, which will eventually join up with other colours. They also said in the Back to the Future YouTube/Zoom that the studio really, when they'd seen the finished movie, they pushed the release date forward. Now this would never happen today, but once the film had wrapped, the studio said, we want this released. I think it came out in June. I'll put it on screen. They loved it so much, they pushed it forward. They released it. And from wrapping to hitting the cinema, now this would never happen these days. There's a whole lot of marketing and everything going on that's different today. But from wrapping the film to releasing it in the cinema, it was 9 weeks. That is unbelievable. You know, the post-production, the special effects and everything. 9 weeks, because Universal just wanted it out there. As soon as they saw they had a potential. Now, they didn't know how good the audience reaction would be, but they potentially had a hit on their hands, and they didn't realise at the time. They probably thought, well, it'll be a 1985 summer blockbuster. Little did they know that nearly 40 years later, everyone still loves Back to the Future. It's just like, and they also told the story about one of the executives didn't like the name Back to the Future as the title. I think he wanted Spaceman from Pluto, which I can see where he's coming from, but it doesn't have the same ring as Back to the Future, because Back to the Future is a weird one. It's kind of like, you'd say something like, oh, back in time, I'm going back in time, but this said Back to the Future, and which is kind of, it's genius, because why are you going back to the future? You know what I mean? Why? And once you watch the film, you realise Back to the Future refers to going back to 1985. That's genius. That is genius. Oops. I had just tapped the camera. See, if they called it Back to 1985, I think that would have spoilt the fun. But somebody who hasn't watched the film sees a title called Back to the Future, you're like, oh, what does that mean? What future, you know? As it turned out, the future was today, like as in when it was released in 1985. The future was now, back then, which is kind of a head scratcher back then. You're like, well, Back to the Future, how's the future 1985 if this is 19, you know what I mean? It's genius, it's a genius title. Back to the Future. Not sure if Spaceman from Pluto would have had the legs that Back to the Future has. Even the Back to the Future logo is just amazing. Everything about that film, those series of films, is just, it's just of its time, and everything seemed to fall into place. You had the right people in place. You had Steven Spielberg, of course, part of it. It wouldn't have been made. It wouldn't have existed, should I say, if it wasn't for Steven Spielberg's clout. Because the film the script had been rejected 41 times, including Paramount, MGM, Disney. I think Disney would be kicking themselves now that they don't own the Back to the Future franchise. I think a lot of film companies will be kicking themselves. But back then, they didn't know. Nobody knew what Back to the Future was going to be. And I'd say that Disney are kicking themselves that they turned down Back to the Future. Steven Spielberg loved it. And you needed somebody on the inside who made successful films like E.T. and things like that, Close Encounter. You needed somebody that had a reputation of success to persuade the Universal executives to go with this, take a risk and go with it. And I think Universal are so glad that Back to the Future is part of their back catalogue, knowing how adored it is nearly 40 years later. It'll be 2025. Back to the Future will be 40 years old. That's just amazing, and people are still talking about it. People are still watching it. After all this time, it's just amazing. But if you've watched the film, you can see why it's amazing. The music, the acting, the tone, the DeLorean time machine, Doc Brown, Marty McFly, Lorraine Baines McFly, Biff. It's got so many good elements. Mr. Strickland, Plutonium. It's got everything that you want. And the Twin Pine Mall scene is just so good. Where Doc sends Einstein a minute into the future, and Marty thinks Einstein's been vaporized. And there's that famous line from Marty McFly. It says, "Are you telling me you built a time machine out of a DeLorean?" Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I suppose. See, DeLorean was a future-looking car with a gull-wing doors. I don't think there are many cars that would have looked futuristic. Maybe like a Lamborghini or something, but you know, it had to be like attainable by Doc Brown to tinker on in his garage. There's no way Doc Brown would have a Lamborghini or a Ferrari in his garage. So it's kind of genius, because there was a lot of negative connotations to the DeLorean at the time. They weren't selling, the company was going bust, so it is conceivable that Doc Brown could have bought a cheap DeLorean. I haven't really even talked about the DeLorean, Back to the Future DeLorean fans. The amount of repurposed Back to the Future DeLoreans there are now. I know Lee Francis from Bo Selector and Celebrity Juice has one. Terry Metalis has one. He actually helped restore the original A car, the hero car, because it had been left on the Universal lot for years out in the open, not protected, and a group of people who have built their own Back to the Future DeLoreans came together. Terry Metalis brought them all together, and they restored the original hero car, because they used 3 cars in Back to the Future 1. There was the hero car that had everything, the bells and whistles. Then they had a stunt version which only had the facade on the outside, and then they had a chopped up one where they could do close-up shots. It was a chopped one, so they had a car A, which is like the hero car with everything on it. They had the B car, which was the stunt one, and then they had the C car, which was chopped in half, so that they could do things like in Back to the Future 2, the flying scenes and stuff. So, and then they had some more. They had a doom buggy type for Back to the Future 3, so it could travel across sand and things, the desert. I think they had quite a few more cars. They had one. I think the B car is the one that gets destroyed at the end of Back to the Future 3, so that doesn't exist anymore. But the A car, everyone assumed that the A car got destroyed at the end of Back to the Future, but it didn't. It was the B car that got destroyed. And the producers of the film, the Bobs, decided to destroy the car, so that there is no Back to the Future 4. The last time we saw the Back to the Future DeLorean was in Ready Player One, and because it doesn't touch the Back to the Future trilogy, it was allowed. And there's been Back to the Future game and things like that there. So anything that doesn't take away from the original trilogy, the Bobs are fine with. I mean, they said that what's the saying? Imitation is the best form of flattery, and they love all the fans that are taking the Back to the Future films into the future. They're showing their kids, and there's a saying where it goes, there are some films that you need to have your kids watch to be a fully integrated adult in their lives, because the references and things, and Back to the Future is one of them films that yeah, I think I went a bit too far with this colour, maybe. I'm not sure if it goes all the way down there now. I'm not sure. I think I got a bit carried away. I was supposed to stop here and I went all the way down. It's fine. I'll fix it if it needs fixing. Yeah. Right. I'd like to thank you for your company. I'll see you in the next video.